Hey there, this is LaQuita with QuitaBugHandmades.com, and thank you so much for joining me today for another Stampin' Up! Tutorial. So I'm so excited. Today I'm using the Picked For You stamp set. This is from our current 2018-19 annual catalog. I was so excited to see a teacher stamp set in the catalog. I have been wanting one ever since I joined with Stampin' Up! As a former teacher of 11 years, this was so exciting to me to see this set. And I'm going to be making lots of cards to send to some of my teacher friends to wish them a good start to the upcoming school year. So I'm going to share with you the card design that I created to send to them. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with some of the stamping. So I have die cut a piece of Whisper White using the layering circle framelits. So I'm just going to stamp on here. I'm going to be using Granny Apple Green for my apple, and this is a two-step stamp is what they call it, image, the apple image, but it's actually 3 different stamps that you have to use for this. So I've got the 3 stamps mounted on my blocks here. So I'm going to start with, this is the order that I'm going to stamp them in. I'm going to stamp this one first, this one second, this image third. Okay, so for the first one, I'm going to ink it up. I'm going to stamp it off, and then I'm going to stamp it in the center. Okay, just like that. Now it's really hard to see that, but there it is. Okay, so I stamped off. I love that you can get multiple shades of color using one ink pad. Then I'm going to go to the second image. I'm going to ink that up, and I'm just going to go ahead and stamp this image full strength. So I'm going to do my best to line it up, but if it doesn't line up perfectly, it doesn't really bother me. On my sample, I didn't get it lined up exact, and it looked fine to me. Okay, so there's that. So you can see how those 2 layers come together. And then for the third layer, I'm going to stamp that one full strength as well. Now, if you wanted to, you could stamp off differently than how I did. I tried it a couple of ways, and this was the way that I liked the best, but you could do it a variety of ways. I'm going to put that right there. Look at that. It just gives you such a nice image, and it really looks 3D. I love that. So now I'm going to come in with my soft suede ink pad, and I am going to stamp my stem for my apple. And you actually tuck the stem down here in this little space. So there's like a little hook. It almost looks like a nose. Let me see. Can you see that? It almost looks like a nose. So the bottom part of the nose goes right down into the apple, and then the stem pokes through the top. So right there. Perfect. Looks good. Now I've got this long skinny strip of Whisper White, and I'm going to bring in my crumb cake ink pad, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says "for a special teacher." So I'm just going to ink that up, and let's see, I'm going to have to bring this a little bit closer. Hopefully you guys can still see. Okay. Alrighty, so I'll just stamp that right in the middle. I think that's the middle. Hopefully so. Nope, that was not the middle. Let me just move it down and do that again. Let's see, I just don't want to get my head in the way. Let's see if that's the middle. That's closer. I'm going to do it one more time. Whenever I use this G block, I think this is a G, I just can never see very well. Okay. Please be straight and please be in the center. Yes! Okay, so we're going to go with that one. Alright, so I've got one of our medium Whisper White envelopes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you how I stamped the envelope. So I've got my Granny Apple Green here, and then I'm going to also bring in my Real Red ink pad, and I'm going to stamp that first image to the apple. And whoops, I need my scratch paper back. I'm just going to stamp that apple off and stamp it right down here in the bottom left-hand corner of my envelope. Bring back my soft suede, and I'm going to stamp the stem here of my apple. Put that right down in there. So you know I love a decorated envelope. And now I've got the "You Are the Best" sentiment, and I'm going to put that across the center of my apple. And there we go. Isn't that such a cute envelope? I love it. All right, so I haven't used my Big Shot for you guys in a while, so I thought I would bring that out and show you how to emboss using one of our Dynamic Textured Impressions embossing folders. So I've got this 3D embossing folder. This is our basket weave embossing folder. So the dynamic ones are thicker than the regular embossing folder, and they give you just a really deep and dimensional impression. They're awesome. So when you're using these, you want to use the regular Big Shot platform, not your magnetic platform. It's going to be too thick. So then you want to take your embossing folder, put your cardstock inside. So I've got a piece of crumb cake. This is cut at 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. And I'm just going to put that right inside. There we go. And I'm going to put that on top of my platform. And then you just use one cutting plate when you're using these embossing folders, because like I said, they're so thick, so you don't use two. It won't even roll through actually if you try to use two. So I'm just going to run that through. And then once you do that, look at that, you've got this beautiful woven impression. It's gorgeous, and you could use either side. Look at the difference if you flip it over. So I'm going to be using this side, but you could use this side if you want. All right, so we are ready to start assembling this card. So I'm going to start by going ahead and adding my apple. I'm going to add this stamped apple piece. I'm just using snail adhesive. I'm going to add this onto this piece of soft suede cardstock, and I used one of these scallop circles from the Layering Circle Framelits. And this circle just nests right inside, just like so. Then I'm going to take my little strip here where we stamped our sentiment. I've got the banner. This is the banner triple punch. I'm just going to banner the ends. If you don't have the triple punch, no worries. You can use your scissors to flag the ends. And then I've got that bannered, so I'm actually going to bring in some dimensionals here, and I'm just going to use the end pieces, the little edges. Put one of those little strips on there, and we will just put this directly across that apple. And I'm not putting it in the center, but kind of towards the lower portion. So just like that, and then some dimensionals on the back. I'll just do 3 will do. Okay, just like that. So now I've got some of this ribbon. This is actually from the upcoming holiday catalog. This is the Real Red mixed satin ribbon. So it's really cool. It's got this neat texture. Let me see if you can see that. Yeah, see those little ridges at the bottom? Really cool look to this ribbon. I like it. So I am going to wrap this around, actually, I'm going to use tear and tape instead. I want to use a nice strong adhesive, and I feel like my snail isn't going to be strong enough. All right, got those backings off, and now I can go ahead and just add, well, I don't have my right scissors over here. I'm going to have to go get the ribbon scissors. Okay, so now I'm just going to flip this ribbon, or flip this piece over, and I just want my ribbon to be towards the bottom here. Is this where I want it? Yeah, I think I want it right there. Okay, right there looks good. All right, so I actually added some more tear and tape to the back of this. When you have a textured or embossed piece of cardstock, you really want to make sure you've got a strong adhesive on there so that it adheres really well. So I'm gonna put this onto a piece of Real Red cardstock, and this, oops, that's not straight. This piece of Real Red cardstock is cut just 1/8 of an inch larger than my crumb cake, so that it gives just a tiny little border. So I'll have the exact measurements over on today's blog post, which is linked just below the video, so you can get the exact measurements over there. But you see it just gives a tiny little real red border. I love how that looks. So now I'm gonna add some adhesive and layer this onto the front of my card base. So I've got some Whisper White thick cardstock. This is cut at 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and I have scored it at 4¼ inches. Alrighty, I'll just add this to the center of my card base. So right about there looks good. Perfect. All right. Then I'll go ahead and add on my apple and sentiment. And I want this to be down here towards the bottom, and I want to make sure my sentiment is straight. Okay, so. Oh Lordy, I am not even, I'm sorry, I was down so low I didn't even realize it. Okay, right there looks good. Okay, so now I'm just going to add a couple of our red rhinestone basic jewels. So we'll just stick a couple of these on the outside of the sentiment. So I'm going to put one there. Let me see if I can get this under there. Press that down good. And then I'll do one on the other side. Right there. And then I just want to tie a little piece of this ribbon in a knot here. So I'm just gonna pull it tight. Tie that in a little knot. And then let me just trim it down a little bit. All right, and there we go. That finishes up this card. I love it. I love, love, love this card, you guys. And then let's bring in our matching envelope, and there it is. So I just love how this card turned out. I really love this basket weave embossing folder in the background. Love it. So I can't wait to send this card out to some of my teacher friends. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. So remember, you can find all of the measurements and supplies for today's project by visiting my coordinating blog post. I've linked to that post just below the video in the description notes. You can also find a full list of supplies with clickable links just below the video in the description notes as well. So thanks again for joining me today, you guys. I will be back soon with another tutorial. Bye now.